Hi. It's been some years now since I uploaded my mobile pattern scanning video, so I think it's high time I updated you on what to do with your scan pattern next. When editing scanned patterns, the next step is to trace over them and make these resizable vector shapes. That's what makes it possible for me to grade and tailor patterns. So to learn how to do digital tailoring, please do stick around and subscribe. But first, I need to clear up a couple issues that could crop up once you've scanned your pattern using the technique in my first video. Right up top, I want to say that the paper I used in the first tutorial, mobile pattern scanning, was actually slightly shorter than AO. This is because at the location I purchased it, AO paper is not normally sold. I basically just paid for an AO print with nothing on it, just to get the paper. Yes, they were a bit surprised. The paper is actually fed into printers from a roll, and so the pieces might not be cut to exactly an accurate length. Mine was actually a centimeter or so off. So if you've already scanned your patterns, please don't sweat it. We're going to fix it in this video, and then I'm going to show you how I'm preventing this issue from happening again. So let's get started. Even if your physical paper size is correct, the digital copy may still come out wrong. This is because the scanning app on your mobile device might not be set to the correct paper size that matches the output you want. For instance, AO or A4. For example, it may come out US letter size. This will result in a slightly squished or stretched digital image. If your physical paper has the correct proportions, then all you're going to need to do is correct for any of this digital squishing that may have occurred during the scanning process. To do this, literally all you have to do is unsquish it. Here in Inkscape, I've set to AO. As you can see, this is not exactly long enough. Ensuring I first have snapping on, I'm just going to unsquish, pulling it up, and it simply snaps into place. But to correct for a wrong physical paper size, it's going to require a fix that is a bit imperfect. Essentially, I'm just going to eyeball it. We're going to start with artifacts inside the image that contain right angles, and, using the same unsquish method I showed, make them actually square again. Let's zoom in here and look for some signs of squishing in the form of slightly too acute right angles. I'm just going to draw a rectangle to use as a tool here, and line it up with the lines in the pattern. To get the most accurate resize possible, we're going to need to find the largest right angle in the whole pattern, and what I'm looking for is these gaps that show the angle is not quite right. So now I'm pretty certain that this image is slightly squished vertically. Let's stretch it out in small increments, checking against our square tool here as we go. It's helpful to have snapping off for this, otherwise it'll keep automatically snapping to the dimensions of the page. Also, the further zoomed in you are, the less likely there will be annoying snapping. As you can see, once I've got this stretched out to a perfectly square shape, the scan is slightly shorter than the original. Okay, I think that's about as close as I'm going to get it. As you can see, the paper is still not long enough. That's because the original paper itself wasn't long enough. So in this case, I don't want to stretch it to match the canvas, because now it actually matches what I had in the first place. Ensure that you lock this object in place. With the image selected, go to Object, Layers and Objects. You see the object selected in the list. Mouse over to see the lock icon and click. Now the image can no longer be accidentally resized or moved. Now, if you're thinking this is less than ideal, I have to agree, and that's why I want to be capturing scans on a sheet the correct size from now on. So that's why now I'm going to show you how I do it using a custom sheet made of poplin. No longer do I need to store a roll of paper, instead I just have this sheet that remains flat. I purchased this fabric and cut it down exactly to size, and I made sure to get the right angles and the side lengths correct so that things won't be all askew when I generate the scan. One important difference here is that I can't actually use glue tape to stick those pieces down like I did in my first video. So I've got this sheet of anti-glare plastic that I lay down instead, and it works well to stop the curling effect of raised corners, which you can see here in this scan. But the most important difference is that, consistent with the best result I got in my first video, I'm sticking with scanning at A1 because this gets the best results in the form of a less grainy image. Other projector sewists aren't using a sheet when scanning. As you can see here on Projector's sewing channel, instead of a piece of paper being used for reference size, they're using a quilting ruler. Here the principle is the same in that we want to use something in our scan as a reference for size, so when we reproduce the image as a projection, that object is reproduced at the exact size again, which tells us beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything is accurate and we're ready to cut our precious fabric. Now that my physical paper size is perfect, all I need to do is unsquish and I'm good to go. Next stage of the process of taking control of our digital pattern is to start tracing the images so that I can grade and tailor as desired. This is, after all, the biggest reason why projecting is so special, because we don't need to mess with any paper or commit to permanently cutting it down to a certain size. Projecting makes it possible to tailor and grade clothing to a much wider range of body shapes in a much shorter amount of time. That's what I'm going to cover in my next video. How to get started in that process by first tracing all our pattern pieces into new vector shapes, which can then be resized. Thanks for watching, and I hope that all your projects are smooth and unsquishy.